Hey guys, this is a little bit of a different video for me. I'm actually not even using a script to record this, so that's a first. I usually use a script when I talk freely like this. But I've been wanting to talk about something about Dead by Daylight for a long time now. Maybe for a few years, but I didn't do YouTube or Twitch back then. But now that I do, I feel like I want to at least make one video on this, and that is Dead by Daylight's Trapper is so heavily underpowered and underused that he desperately needs a buff or rework. And I say that because if you go to the game, if you look at the game's box art, it's the Trapper. If you look at the merchandise, it's the Trapper. The Trapper is the face of Dead by Daylight. He's the first killer that came out. He's the oldest killer, and yet he is the weakest and most unused one. I think the Trapper has been needing a buff or rework for years now, maybe since 2017. Over the years, we've seen him get many counters, some indirect, some not direct. Dead harding over traps, maps, rainbow maps tracking your traps, yellow add-ons on maps, on any map tracking your traps, object of obsession, allowing people in or out of Swift to quickly and safely disarm your traps without falling for them. Even like perks that don't matter that much, like small game, slippery me, like technically those are counters. They're not that great of counters, but hey, he still has counters, which is so weird because you'd think the face of Dead by Daylight would be stronger than he currently is. I'd say that Clown was worse, Trapper's worse. I feel like the Clown and Trapper are really tied together on who's the worst killer. I do think it's Trapper, not only just because of the gameplay, but again because he's the face of DBD. So for a while I've been thinking, if I could buff the Trapper or rework him, what would I do? And I've seen a lot of Dead by Daylight content creators / streamers talk about this before, mainly Odds Darva. So you're gonna see some ideas that are very similar or just his on here. Let's get into the buffs that I would add without a rework. So what that means is that his power stays the same. It does have huge changes. It's just little buffs to help him out. And the first one is that traps cannot be seen with the rainbow map or map add-ons. And I think this is one of the most simplest ways to buff the Trapper. There is really no reason that a rainbow map or a yellow add-on should be able to counter his entire power. If you hold right click with the killer tracking add-on for a map or rainbow map, you see all of the Trapper's traps. You literally just see them all across the map, and this is horrible. This destroys his entire power as the Trapper. I don't think anything like this should be possible. It's just a hard counter to him. So I think if you make it so his traps can be seen through maps and add-ons, that'd be good. And I'm talking specifically about the maps. There's other perks like David Taps perks that let you see traps, I believe, or totems. I can't remember exactly, but stuff like that is fine. Not a map though, because a green map can just counter an entire killer's power, and that's like really weird. And like I don't know why that's still in the game. The second one is that an injured survivor that frees themselves from a bear trap should be put into the dying state. So kind of a built-in honing stone. The way the game is right now, if a healthy survivor steps into a trap and frees themselves, they're now injured. There is a consequence to stepping on that trap and not being careful. But if an injured survivor steps into a trap and they get out, it's like it never happened. They're perfectly fine. Maybe they just lost a little bit of time. Maybe now they're in a chase, but the thing is, there's still there's zero consequence to it pretty much. This would make it so if an injured survivor steps on the bear trap and does not get rescued by another teammate, they would go down. And I feel like this is a necessary change, because if you're injured, who cares about a trap if you're not in chase? It's not going to do anything. You're going to get out of it pretty quickly. So I do think the honing stone might need to be reworked, or maybe not, because it'll still work on healthy survivors. But I do think injured survivors that step on traps should be downed. And freeing yourself from a bear trap should have controlled RNG. Minimum attempt to escape 4, that's about 6 seconds. Maximum attempts 8, that's about 12 seconds. So what this means is now when you step on the bear trap in the current build of the game and past builds, you step on it, you can try to escape. Sometimes you escape on the first try, and theoretically you can stay on that trap for like 2 minutes if you have terrible luck. I think that the RNG should be controlled or limited to there's a maximum attempts that you can have and the minimum. So you can either escape on the 4th or on the 8th or anywhere between, and your setting add-ons will make that time a little bit longer. I think that's fine because sometimes you get somebody trapped in the trap as trapper, and you look at them, you start walking, and they get away as soon as they step on the first try, and that is awful. That is absolutely awful. And another change that should be implemented, and this is by far the one that I think everybody would agree upon, is the yellow bag add-on by default. Now, what the yellow bag add-on does is you start with 1 extra trap, and it increases the bear trap capacity to 2. I feel like this should have been in the game since day 1. I don't know why the trapper doesn't have it, but I feel like this buff alone would be enough to appease people like me that like trapper or other trapper mains, because the way it is now, you carrying 1 trap is awful. If you're only allowed to carry 1 trap, you're gonna suffer heavily, and it's awful. And you get more traps from this add-on as well. So this should be default. Like, this is like, you can't argue about this. This should literally be default since the game came out. And a change, a buff that might seem too much to people, but is the only way I can see to counter Object of Obsession players, is for 30 seconds at the beginning of the trial, the trapper is given the undetectable status effect. So this would stop Object players from seeing you across the map, putting down all your traps early game, and just going over there and disarming them, so you have literally nothing and you're just M1 funny killer guy. This would stop it for the most part, right? Undetectable, no terror radius, no light, only for 30 seconds. If you don't like this change, I guess you could make it so as soon as you do an offensive action like breaking or grabbing, like attacking somebody, grabbing somebody from a window, vault, pallet, or whatever it may be, I feel like that should cancel it. If you think that having undetectable for 30 seconds of the match is too strong, well, there's the balance. And traps now spawn near the generators or the center of the map. So what happens now is sometimes you'll get a trap that spawns across the entire, let's say you're in Red Forest, right? You spawn on the side with the shack. On the other corner of the map, there's just 1 trap there in the very corner. That trap you will never ever use. It will be useless. And you can go out of your way to grab that trap, but you're wasting so much time that it's completely not worth it. So now you're trapper with 1 less trap, and you're already weaker than you should be. So I think if they spawn your generators more, or main buildings like the center of the map, or just the center in general, this would fix a big problem of his, is that some traps are unreachable. So I think this change should also be added. And another change is dead harding over a trap should not be possible. So now this is more of a controversial change. Dead hard grants you immunity from pretty much any attack in the game, whether it be hatchets, pyramid skill shot, I believe also Death Stinger shot. Dead harding over a trap is just way too strong. It is so strong. You can literally dead hard over a trap. The trapper will either have 2 options. 1, they will pick up the trap, go to the other side of the loop, put it back down, chase you again, or they will do a complete like circle around the loop just to catch up to you. And this wastes so much time and counters them way too heavily. So I think, although you could leave this out, dead harding over trap should not be possible. But that's just me. I understand why some people think that might be too strong. Then I got thinking, what if he had an absolute just power rework? Now, this is something that would need much more development time and planning and more balancing. You could do this, but it would present a lot of problems in itself. And that is that traps spawn in lockers where they could be reloaded a set amount of times. And you can see the bear traps in the locker just like you can see Huntress's hatchets, even if the killer isn't the Huntress. So what this would do is it would prevent that whole, the trap is across the map, you can't get it. It would also prevent survivors from knowing that you're the trapper right away until they see you. Because people can spawn in right next to one of your traps and be like, oh, it's a trapper, and now you know. So that would stop. It would like allow you to pick up traps at most loops and gen locations, since a lot of lockers are at gens, most loops. So it would work in your favor in that situation. But some cons would be that you'd need a system to stop a set amount of traps from being achievable. So you can't just spam out traps at the locker all the time. And it has to be easy for newer players to understand how it works. If you don't make it too easy, you make it a little bit too complicated, newer players, they're just gonna not understand why they can't grab a trap out of a locker. Then like they're not gonna get it. Or maybe they would. It all depends on the way it's implemented, but personally I think it might be a little bit too complicated for them. Seeing that a lot of changes recently have been made to make the game easier for newer survivors slash killers. And another thing is that bag add-ons might need to be reworked. Bag add-ons might just destroy the entire purpose of having lockers. So I think I'm going to leave this one to you guys. Everybody that's watching the video and in the comments, I'll let you guys decide how this works. You can add on to this, you can take away from it, you can do something completely different. I honestly just want to see the way that people think his power should be reworked. If they did rework it, you guys don't have to talk about it being lockers. I want to see your guys' ideas, even if they have nothing to do with what I just said in the video. But that's essentially it. I do think the Trapper needs the heaviest buff right now out of any killer in the game. Maybe second place, very strong second place is Clown or Wraith, because Wraith also has a problem with add-ons and having to rely on them extremely. But that's a different video for a different day. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and thanks for watching the video. This is the first time I've done something like this. It's not really heavily edited, it's lightly edited. I might just remove some parts where I stutter and just say the wrong word, but that's about it. Thanks for watching the video, guys. I appreciate it, and let me know how you would change or buff the Trapper, or maybe you just hate the Trapper so much. Let me know how you would nerf the Trapper. Yeah, also let me know how you would nerf him. And a special thank you to my Twitch subscribers: Potatina, Yellow Nerd, Rabbit Games, Robot Cutie, Nerd Dad Mike, Vixen Gem, Angry Guy, Sam Cream, Mimi, Extreme Monkey Live, Aoda18, Leechbin, The Basic Squad, Tomato the Walrus, One Legged Buffalo, Haven, McRuffles, I'm That One Hillbilly Rainbow. Thank you so much for subscribing, guys. I truly appreciate it, and take care.